Now, I think it's safe to say that the pandemic has shown a lot of flaws in our businesses and our jobs, and in some cases, even our lifestyles. So let's talk about having a post-pandemic mindset, because we're not out of the woods yet, but we're almost there. And what's life going to look like after the pandemic for you? Let's jump into it.
Gotta talk about my life as I see it.
What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and thanks for joining me. Now, if you're new here, my name is Jonathan Moore. I have a visual media company. I'm a creative entrepreneur, and I like to make videos like these for other creatives so they can build a life on their terms and get it how they live. Now, before I jump into today's video, I do want to do a little bit of housekeeping. I'm asking you guys to please like the video, consider subscribing, trying to get to 10,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Now, I know it's a big goal, but it is my goal. And if you could help me out, that would be greatly appreciated. So let's jump into this whole post-pandemic mindset, right? So we had a pandemic come through. Now we're almost out of the woods. We're not all the way there, but for the most part, we're getting there. And the pandemic has shown a lot of flaws, whether it's in our businesses, whether it was with our jobs, or even in our lifestyles. So to me, the two big things that I took away from the pandemic, or the two big things that I see a lot of people taking away from the pandemic, is one is the lifestyle that you created and that you're living. And the second thing is, do you have fulfillment in your job? Do you feel like you have purpose? Do you feel like you have some type of direction? You're creating an impact. You're making the world a better place, right? So these things have been sitting with people because we had to sit inside for a while. We had to be isolated. You weren't supposed to be around friends and family. And so when you have time to be alone and you have time to think, you start to ask yourself a lot of these different questions. So the first topic that I want to focus on is lifestyle. Now, when the pandemic happened and the lockdowns came through, we were all forced to look at the way we were living a little bit differently, right? Did we like exactly where we were living? Did we like how we were living? Were we in a house? Were we in a condo or an apartment? Did we have roommates? Were we living with our family? Was the house too small? Was the house too big? Was the house not in a good location, right? A lot of different things were surrounding us, okay? We were also worried about family and friends. Were we close to family and friends, all right? Were we even more isolated because we were in lockdowns because we didn't have family or friends close by? And so it really forced us to take a look at our lifestyle and question, is this the type of life that we want to be living? And as you can see, there was a lot of people who were moving. People were fleeing the cities. People were going to places where they could get more land, more space, because the pandemic basically changed the landscape of how we work, right? Before, there might have been, you might have been working for a company or at an office and they said there was no way that you can work remotely, right? There's no possible way that you can do this job from home. And the pandemic forced a lot of businesses and companies to do things differently, right? So now all of a sudden that job that couldn't be done from home is now being able to be done from home. And when we're home, we're thinking like, is this how I want to live, right? I live in this area because it was close to my job, but maybe I can go somewhere and I can get more bang for my buck, right? Maybe I can get a little bit more land. Maybe I can get a little bit more space, right? Maybe I want to put my kids into a different school district, whatever the case may be, right? Now, all of a sudden, the mindset changed, right? And our relation to how we're making money to support our lifestyle. And then the question became, how can we continue to craft our lifestyle and make the type of money that we need to support ourselves? And during this time, I've seen a lot of different content creators pop up, right? A lot of people were isolated. So social media was a big thing. Content creation or content creators were starting to thrive, right? And they live in their own little bubble of celebrities, right? But you have, say YouTube or Netflix, a lot of these platforms started to thrive because people were isolated and they wanted something to do to pass the time. And for all those content creators that just sprung up out of nowhere, now was a great opportunity in time because people were around and they were looking for either new podcasts to listen to, new videos to watch, a new series to pick up. The list just goes on and on of what people were doing to occupy their time. Now, in my opinion, the next big thought change was around fulfillment and purpose, right? In your job. Do you feel like you're, being fulfilled on your job? Do you feel like your job is giving you some type of purpose, right? Because during the whole pandemic, there was a lot of, mismatched things going on. For example, you had people who had, really well-paying jobs, they had high skills and they earned it, but they were able to transition. They were able to work from home. And then you have people who were stuck in more of the lower wage job, these minimum wage jobs, and they were deemed essential workers. And so they still had to go out there every single day and face all this risk and put their lives on the line, essentially, right? But then you're looking at it, right? And you're looking at the divide and you're saying, man, I should be able to work from home, or I should be able to do this, or I would like to be able to do that. And now you're sitting there and you're thinking, right? You're in your job, and of course you need your job. You got to make a living. You got to sustain yourself and your family. Okay. But you start to think after a while, are you making an impact, or are you just another cog on the wheel? And I think that this resonated with a lot of people, because sometimes we just get so wrapped up in the everyday, day in, day out type of, rigmarole, that we're just going through the motions. And rarely are we taking the time to sit back and think about what it is that we're actually trying to do. What are we trying to accomplish? Where are we trying to go? What goals do we have? And how do we plan on hitting those goals? And so this whole pandemic and the lockdowns, now we're kind of out of that. But the question is are we just going to go back to business as usual? Are we just going to hope things go back to normal, right? Or is there a new normal, or whatever the case may be, right? But are we going to go back to business as usual and start doing things the way that we were essentially doing them before the pandemic hit? Or are we going to change the way that we look at things? Are we going to change the way that we look at our life, our lifestyle, how we make money, how we sustain ourselves, where we live, where we're trying to live, where we want to go, and what else we want to accomplish in life? Sometimes these conversations are so deep and philosophical and metaphysical and all of the above, right? But at the same time, they're good conversations to have. They're good thoughts to have. You have to constantly ask yourself these things so you make sure that you're staying on the pathway to achieve those goals and live the type of life that you really want to live. So I'm really interested to hear from you. Now that we're kind of out of the woods, right? We're almost there, being back to normal. How are you going to change? What things are you going to do differently, right? Are you going to stay at the job that you were at, or are you going to go somewhere and get rewarded, right? Because the pandemic showed that a lot of businesses were able to make adjustments, right? And now people see that, right? They got skills. They say, hey, I can go over here and they can treat me better, right? I can be able to work from home. I can work remotely and maybe go into the office a couple of days a week. And so now I can work essentially from anywhere, or I can even spend more time with my family, right? Or I can start to pursue things that really make me feel good, that really make me feel fulfilled, and really make me feel like I'm having an impact on this world, in society. So I know that was kind of a deep question, but let me know, what's your thoughts? What are you going to do now post-pandemic? Are you going to change up your lifestyle, or are you just going to hope that things go back to normal the way they were and get back on track that way? Either way, thanks for joining me today, guys. Once again, for all my people out there who are trying to build a life on their terms and get it how they live, this is your man, Jonathan Moore, and I'm signing out. Peace.